Okay guys, so today I'm going to run you through the off-grid lithium battery system that I've built on this van. So yeah, let's go.
We're just doing, Dad's just popping the solar panels on the roof.
Why do we need solar panels?
To recharge our caravan.
Oh. How many solar panels are there, do you know?
8.
8? We're going to fit all of them up there?
Yes.
You think?
Yeah.
How are you helping Dad?
By drilling some holes.
Cool.
Good. Good boy. Go. Perfect. We're done. Now we're gonna put him on the roof then. Okay, g'day guys. So today we're going to be doing our battery install or mounting, and just preparing the area for mounting the batteries and all the components, inverter and everything. So I'll show you where I plan to put it all. This is under the seating area. So these are this is just one row of the lithium batteries we're going to be putting in there. This is only a quarter of the batteries, so there'll be 3 more of these rows, so pretty much that whole space there will fill up. These battery cells have actually got some cool little mounting points, as you can see there, and there. So what I'm planning on doing is actually getting some all thread rod and drilling through this wall and mounting them that way. I'm going to put all the solar charge controllers and all the electronics up on this shelf here. In this little area over here, I'm going to try and mount the Victron Inverter. Anyway, for now, I'm just going to drill some holes, use these battery cells as the templates, and then we'll yeah, see how it all fits up. Okay guys, I'll just show you what I've done today. So I've just cut up these bits of acrylic sheet, just got them from Bunnings, bit of 12mm ply under there. The reason I'm doing that is because this bit of tin under here is very thin and flimsy, and I don't want to mount all the solar charge controllers and electronics on there, purely because it's metal, so if any of the wires break or anything, they'll just short straight onto that. And I also just, it's very flimsy, so I didn't want the electronics bouncing around. So I'm going to Sikaflex that bit of ply onto the top of the wheel arch there. The reason I'm not screwing it is because I'm just trying to eliminate as much holes in the van as I can, because I don't need dust coming in. It would probably be fine, but Sikaflex will more than do the job. And then I'll silicone the acrylic sheet down on top of that. This board here, I've just had to put in, it's only 9mm, but it's just got to raise the batteries up a bit, just so I can get them into the right spot on that bottom rail there. Yeah, and then I'll do a bit of a time-lapse video, and then we'll do a bit of an install. Very exciting day for me today, where I'm going to be installing our lithium batteries and yeah, building it up. So I'm just going to quickly run you through what we've got, all the components, and why I've chosen what I've chosen. Heaps of different ways of doing this. Yeah, as far as voltage goes, different types of BMSs, different configurations. So I'm just going to run you through what I've chosen to do, why I've chosen to do it, and yeah, hopefully you get something out of it. These are the battery cells that I bought from China. Yeah, really good quality stuff. There's different ways of building this battery. I could build 4 individual batteries, so 4 individual 24 volt 100 amp hours, and run them all in parallel, which would give me the same capacity. The advantage of doing that would be that I would have individual cell monitoring, but the disadvantage would be I'd need 4 BMSs rather than 1. So the way I'm going to configure it is each one of these cells will run in parallel like this. So I'll put bus bars across here and here, a bit like this one, I've already done. So these are all the negatives and all the positives on this side. So that essentially becomes one giant cell on its own. So that'll be 3.65 volts at 400 amp hours. Whereas if I just had one, as I bought them, that's still 3.65 volts, but it is 100 amp hours. Anyway, so I'm going to put all those batteries into this area here, which I'll show you a bit later once I've installed it up. So the configuration now will be, since I'm running this, it'll be so 4P 8S pack. So 4P meaning these 4 cells are in parallel to make one cell, and then each one of these cells will be run in series with the next one. So this will be another cell. So this one and this one will run in series, and then so on. They'll just keep running in series for 8 of those packs. So that's a 4P 8S pack that I'm building, which will give us 400 amp hours in 24 volt. Now, as far as capacity goes, that will give us roughly 11 kilowatt hours. Anyway, I'm going to start installing these batteries, and I'll give you a look later on once I've finished. Some solar cables today up to the roof. I'm going to run 3 of these cables. We'll just have to cut a hole here, up in here, and we're going to run it through the roof, and there's a hole about there. Yeah, so I'm going to try and run these because I'm running 3 series strings. What we're doing, the fun part here at the moment is this is all the original wiring and cables. So really, I want all the electrical stuff in the one area, but because we're limited for time, it's going to be a later, you know, and in a couple of months' time we might upgrade that. But for now, this is all going to stay here. But I've got to run battery cables and everything from this side all the way over to under the seat to where the batteries are. So this is all going to stay here for now. I've just had to cut a big hole there so we can get our cables and stuff through. So these are all the original ones that the batteries are located in the front luggage compartment, so they'll all get used for something else later on. So at the moment it's just running cables, which is the worst job to do because all the panels are on. But anyway, so we've managed to get some cables through here. I just pulled the speaker out, and there's a big cavity there which makes it handy. So these are the original ones going to the roof, but they're not going to get used anymore. And then I've got some more cables, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so here's the system that we built. It's directly over the axles, under the chairs. So I've actually had these Perspex covers made up. There used to be timber there, but I like to be able to just pull the seats up so I can just have a quick glance at the system when I need to see what it's doing. Okay, so this is the system that we built. It is a 11 kilowatt hour battery. I could probably get a bit more capacity out of it by increasing the charge and discharge cycles, but with 11 kilowatt hours it means I only have to charge the batteries up to 80% and down to 20%. But if I find that we need more capacity later, I can change that. And the way that I do that is through the solar charge controllers here. So I'm using everything Victron. So these are the solar charge controllers. So on the roof, I've got 1.4 kilowatt of solar panels on the roof. So pretty much the whole roof. We've got a 22.6 foot long van. And I've covered the whole roof in solar panels, which we'll put a picture of somewhere. I'll let Angie do that. Now what I've done is I've run 3 panels in series. So I've got 3 strings. So I've got 3 panels of 175 watt in series with each other. Then I've got another string of 3 panels at 175 watt each. And then I've used the 2 original panels that come with the van, and I've run those in series with each other, which are 150 watt each, so 300 watt for that string. So this big solar charge controller here is an MPPT controller from Victron. So each panel produces about 60 volts PV power. So these 2 are the 2 biggest strings, and this is for the smaller one. Now this one over here, I've just put in because I've got some portable solar panels, which I will plug into that if I ever need it. So far, we haven't even come close to needing the extra panels. So it might be something that never gets used, but anyway, it's there, it's wired up. So I've actually had to pull out, to get that much solar on the roof, I've had to pull out the TV aerial. But it was worth the sacrifice for us. We don't really watch telly anyway, and to get the extra couple of panels up there was well worth it. So what I've done here, so I've run the 3 lots of twin core 6mm up to the solar panels. Each one of those cells is monitored by these cables here, and I can see that down on this little monitor here. So I'll steal that off you for a second. I'm not sure how well you guys can see this, but this is the Electrodacus BMS. Now this isn't your typical BMS that everyone sort of knows about. This purely tells us everything about the battery and the system, and it protects the battery. So you can see here, I don't know, hopefully it sort of zooms in, all these little numbers here are telling us the voltage of each of the 8 packs. And this down here is the total capacity that we've got left. That's telling us what's going in, what's coming out. The battery here is 11 kilowatt hours in capacity. The reason I'm talking kilowatts and not amp hours is because amp hours doesn't give you a proper indication of capacity unless you're referring to voltage. You have to refer the voltage to the amps. And what I mean by that is, this is actually a 24 volt battery, not a 12 volt battery. But if I was to say that this was a 400 amp hour battery without referring to the voltage, it doesn't tell you what the capacity is if you don't know what the voltage is. So 400 amp hours at 24 volt is not the same as 400 amp hours at 12 volt. It's double the capacity. But if I'm talking kilowatts, kilowatts is not biased on voltage. It is what it is. So kilowatts is kilowatts. So an 11 kilowatt battery in 12 volt is the same capacity as 11 kilowatt capacity in 24 or 48 or 76 or whatever battery pack you've got. So if I say kilowatts, it doesn't matter what the voltage is, whereas amps do. So, but for those of you who want a comparison in amp hours, this is about 800 amp hour battery in 12 volt. But I've made it 24 volt. The reason I've done 24 volt is it's got much lower current, or half the current of what 12 volt would be to get the same capacity, which means I can run smaller wires, smaller cables, and there are much less voltage drops. But having said that, 12 volt systems are totally fine and they work perfect and great as long as everything's done right. You've got to get your cable sizes right, make sure you do your fuses right and all that. Now this is the Victron Inverter. This is a low frequency, it's a low frequency inverter. It's 2.4 kilowatt inverter, but the low frequency inverters are a lot more sturdy. The advantage of them, they're a lot more sturdy. They don't get anywhere near as hot as the high frequency ones. So the high frequency ones use MOSFETs and everything like that. These run 2 large coils inside them with capacitors and everything. The disadvantage of the low frequency ones is they're super heavy. They're probably 3 times as heavy as what a high frequency one would be. So again, there's nothing wrong with the high frequency ones, but these ones just mean that they can take a lot more inrush current, and yeah, I like them a lot more. It is an inverter charger. I haven't even set the charge profile up on it. It'll only ever charge when we're connected to power. So I will muck around with that setting later on, but we've never had to plug in. We use electric cooktops. We run the 3-way fridge on electric most of the time. Microwave, tallies, chargers, everything. We've got an induction cooktop, which I just said, which we use heaps. The lowest we've had the batteries down in the couple of months that we've been using this has been, I think the lowest we got down to was about 30%.
Yeah.
This system I've calculated so that we can, if it's a really overcast day or really bad weather, we can get about 3 days without any charge going into it. I'm not running any DC to DC charges to the alternator on the car, so the car does not charge these batteries. These batteries purely get charged by the solar panels. We've never had a need to do it. Using your car to charge lithium batteries, when lithium batteries are at a low state of charge, they have a very low internal resistance, which means that they will just absorb as much current as they possibly can really quickly compared to what AGM or lead acid or whatever will absorb, because they have a much lower internal resistance, and they will kill your alternators. Alternators are not designed to charge lithium batteries deep cycle, so you do need to run a DC to DC if you're ever going to do that. Do not directly connect them to your alternator, because it will wreck your alternator before it wrecks the batteries if you're running lithium. So make sure if you do that, always run a DC to DC. I'm not doing that for these. I'm going to build a lithium system in the car, which I've actually started, and I will do another overview once I've finished it, which I will run the DC to DC in, but I'll only be drawing 30 amps or allowing 30 amp of charge going into that. These are double pole, double throw AC circuit breakers. I'm just using those as isolators for the solar input. So the PV input goes through those, just so I can isolate the system if I need to work on the MPPTs, or I want to isolate one of the circuits. I just turn these circuit breakers off. They're just Hager circuit breakers, double pole, double throw, so they're isolating both the negative and the positive from each of the strings up on the roof. Yeah, and then I've just got, so that fuse there, that's a big T-rated fuse that is for the inverter. Another fuse there that goes to the 12 volt stuff in the van. Main isolator, and then up the back here, which is just under here. So I've got 2, I don't know if you can see them. Oh, there we go. So I've got 2 shunts here. So one of the shunts measures the outgoing current, and the other one measures the input current from the solar charge controllers. That then allows the BMS to give us a very accurate reading of battery capacity, what's coming in, what's going out. The Electrodacus BMS down there runs absolutely no loads through it. It just monitors, and then it shuts down each of the components as it needs to. So if it detects that battery voltage is getting low, it will shut down the inverter, and it will shut down the low voltage side of it. And again, on the other side, if it's detecting that each of those cells is going above I've set it at 3.6 volts. So if it goes above 3.6, it will shut down any charging through those solar charge controllers. But that BMS is purely just to protect the batteries. It's not a BMS like the BM Pros or anything like that. It's a different type of BMS. These BMSs you generally will never need if you buy a lithium battery off the shelf, because all batteries that you buy off the shelf have its own built-in BMS, which you don't see. You just buy it and it looks like a battery, but inside there's a lot of electronics inside it, which will have its own battery protect in there. Well, it should anyway. I've never come across one that hasn't, but yeah, you probably buy a cheap one that might not have it in it. Yeah, so the BMS that I'm referring to is purely just to protect the battery and to tell us the health and the state of the charge of the battery system. So yeah, it's a very accurate BMS, and yeah, it's working really, really well. I've built the battery myself, which you can do if you can be bothered. It takes a lot of work, but it saved me probably, that battery cost me about, what did it cost? It cost about $4,800, which works out to be about 40 cents per kilowatt hour, which is super cheap for probably the best quality lithium cells that you can get, that I've come across anyway. I know there's heaps of good ones out there, and you can probably get cheaper ones again, but I just wanted to get the balance of good quality. So if you were to buy this battery off the shelf, it would cost more than double that. So for me, I was able to do it. I took the risk in buying the cells from China. So yeah, there is a certain risk involved too, so just keep that in mind. You don't get any warranty, well, you do get warranty with it, but you got to send it back to China, and so yeah, and you got to pay shipping fees, so it's probably not worth it. So you do have the risk of that. So when you buy off the shelf, you obviously get all your warranties and everything like that. You got your energy drives and your Victrons and everything, which I'm pretty sure both give like a 5 or 6 year warranty on your batteries, which is well worth the money. So, but for me, I know these systems, and I can fix it now, and yeah, I was prepared to take the risk. If you are going to buy your own lithium cells, and you want to build a battery like this, just remember, unlike me, you've got to take into account shipping costs, customs costs. So I bought the batteries thinking that they're cheap as chips, but then by the time you add in shipping and customs and all the other fees that go with it, it adds up pretty much. I think the shipping and the customs fees was about $1,800, which I didn't account for, but still they were cheap. So that the $4,800 included the shipping and customs fees and everything that I was talking about before. So to give you an example as well, the weight of these batteries weigh about 80 kilos. The two that I took out, which are less than or about a quarter of the capacity, weighed 60 kilos. So I only added 30 kilos to get a massive amount of capacity. That's purely just the batteries. That's not including the solar panels or anything. So just for the batteries, like for like, swap for swap, I only added 30 kilos to get this massive battery in here. When you want to put a system in, size it first. So work out what appliances you want to use, how long you want to use them for each day, or approximately. Always do worst case, like how long you're going to run the microwave for. Work out the watts on your microwave, work out the watts on all of the appliances that you're going to use, times it by the hours that you're going to use, and then work out what capacity you need, and then build a system to allow for that. And always allow for a bit more, because you might want to add stuff in later. Anyway, any questions, let me know. See you later.